So an overview now of the chemistry syllabus for the Leaving Certificate. Chemistry is the study of matter, so finding out what substances matter is composed of, investigating their properties and the reactions of those substances, and often or most of the time when these substances can react, they create new substances. So we'll be looking for atomic structure initially and then working up through how those atoms come together to form molecules, and then looking at complex families of molecules like the organic chemical families that are on the syllabus. Some complementary subjects, there is some crossover, a small bit of crossover with biology. There is certainly a lot of the maths you would have used for the junior cycle and in the Leaving Cert. That would be useful, and there is some aspects of radioactivity is on the chemistry syllabus and some of that is on the physics as well, so there is some crossover there. The syllabus consists of looking at the atomic structure and looking at the periodic table. You do not have to learn the periodic table, but you certainly have to be familiar with it. We'll be looking at ionic bonding and covalent bonding, which wasn't really touched on much for the junior cycle, so that will be relatively new. Stoichiometry is entirely new. Volumetric analysis sounds complicated, but you will have probably done a titration for the junior cycle, so it's a lot of titrations on this syllabus. We'll be looking at some fuels and the reactions between those fuels, rates of reaction and the things that can change those rates. There's a lot of organic chemistry on this. There can be up to 2.5 questions out of 11 questions on the paper can be about organic chemistry, so a lot of the syllabus is dealing with that. We have some equilibrium, a small amount of environmental chemistry, and then there are 2 options on the paper as well, with industrial and materials, atmospheric chemistry and stuff going into that as well. It's kind of a smaller part of the syllabus. This type chemistry would be useful for medicine, for veterinary, for pharmacy, physiotherapy, those type of things at third level. People who would like this subject are people who would have liked chemistry for the junior cycle, although I will warn students that what we had for the junior cycle is quite different from what you get on the Leaving Cert syllabus, because a lot of the concepts are a little bit harder to grasp at a younger age. Things do kind of take a good jump forward on the Leaving Certificate syllabus in comparison to the junior cycle, but if you did like it, you were definitely going to like it again. If you like to use maths to solve problems, chemistry will be good for you. There is quite an amount of calculations. Up to 20% of the exam can be mathematical calculations. Some of the processes are things that would be on the higher level maths syllabus for the Leaving Cert. So if maths is something you absolutely hate, it could really detract from your liking of chemistry for the Leaving Cert. There is a lot of kind of I always feel that chemistry is a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, that you kind of, once you get to the end and you start putting in the last pieces, then you see the whole picture as a whole at the end. And sometimes that can be a bit disconcerting for students. They kind of feel that they're not really grasping it, but it definitely all comes together at the end. So if you are comfortable forming connections, say for the junior cert, that you were able to look at the energy we were looking at in biology and connect that to the physics energy that we were talking about, then that's good. If you're good at puzzles, you'll probably like it as well. If it doesn't faze you to be learning about things that you can't actually physically see in front of you, like atoms and molecules, then that is definitely something that would be good for this subject. There are 28 experiments in chemistry, so if you like experiments, this is definitely something that has a lot of experimental work in it. And again, there is a lot of work. There is not necessarily as much to learn as there might be in other subjects, but there's a good amount of understanding to reach so that you can fully grasp what is happening in chemistry. So it's a good idea to keep working all the way through 5th year, and then that will stand to you then in 6th year to kind of have that basis and then build on it then in 6th year. As I said, there are 28 experiments, and there are 2 sections in the paper, section A and section B, which I will talk about now. So section A is entirely about those 28 experiments, and you have to answer at least 2. So there are 3 questions, you have to answer at least 2 of them from section A, and then you have to answer at least 5 questions from section B. So there are 8 questions in total out of 11 questions, 400 marks. 100% of the marks are awarded in the final exam. There is no marks going for anything that you hand in beforehand or upload beforehand. It's all on the exam at the moment. So that can add pressure to some people, it can remove pressure from other people, but that is the way it stands at the moment. And that will be examined in June, as with all the other exams that happen around then. So chemistry, it suits a lot of people. It can be a very, very interesting subject for people who are motivated in that way. So hopefully quite a few of you will choose it, and we will see you next year.